Now I'm like, okay, that's working for me, sort of, not really. So I'm going to go ahead and try and sharpen her a little bit. The way that I do that is I use some presets that we purchased as a group here at Digital Dolls called MCP. And if I go over here to my presets catalog, you can see all of the presets that I've downloaded, and you can buy these, you can purchase them from different places. There's a lot of great ones out there. They do come with pre-packaged presets, and if you look up here, any of these Lightroom, where it says Lightroom on it, that came with Lightroom. But I found that those don't really work as well for me as other ones do, and I'm really actually very, very much in love with these MCP Lightroom presets, and they come in 5 sections. So the first one starts with building blocks, and if we click on that, we can see that you start at the very, very beginning with white balance. Now if you remember correctly, I white balanced over here, which worked out okay for us. I could also go ahead and white balance here, and the MCP building blocks will do pretty much the same thing. So if I want to do an auto to see what that'll look like, I just click on it here, and as you can see, it's just about spot on with what I did in the other palette. If I wanted to see what it would look like in the shade, it gives me a little bit of a preview, and I can already tell that's going to be way too orange. Still too orange. This daylight and sunshine might be a little bit better. No, I don't like it. So I'm going to undo it by hitting Control Z, which is the magical undo in every computer program. Let me take a look at what this flash photography is. Still way too orange for me. I'm going to stay away from any of these preset building blocks. I can also increase or decrease my exposure, and it'll show me what those will look like if I were going to go ahead and add stops to my picture, remove stops from my picture, and let's see. If I remove 2 stops from this image, it gets me even a little bit closer to what she really looked like. So I'm pretty happy with that. Now I'm going to move on to the next part of the MCP quick clicks, which are quick colors, and these are presets that are actually pretty darn cool, and I have a tendency to use these a lot more with my scenic images than I do with my people images. Let's just go ahead and click on it and see what it looks like. So this picture day one, it just changes it slightly. You can see it kind of sharpens her, it brightens her up a little bit, but that's not really doing it for me so much. So I'm going to undo that, and I'm going to click off of here. I find with people, I have a tendency to go right here to the finishing enhancers, and I can do a whole bunch of really, really cool things. So there's a blowout buster. If I were shooting outdoors and my highlights were blown out, I could go ahead and use one of these or any of these to try and take down my shadow. I can also add a little bit of fill flash. Let's go ahead and add just a little bit here and see what it does. Not really anything, because I actually already used fill flash with this picture. We can give it a little bit of a boost, and this is going to enhance our saturation just a little bit. You can see the pink in her shirt got a little bit pinker. And you remember how I was talking about it bothers me, she's a little soft, I want to sharpen her up a little bit. So I'm going to click here on this crisp light and try and give her just a little bit more sharpness. It makes her a little bit dark for me, so I'm going to stick here, I think, with the medium. Then, you know, you can tell she's an older woman. She's not in her 20s. She's probably in her 30s, 40s, maybe even mid-40s. And I can soften up the light a little bit just to make her look a little bit softer. It's a little too much. I'm just going to soften her a little tiny bit. I can take some of the color away from her. So you can see it's making her shirt lighter and lighter. I'm going to get rid of that because that's not really working for me. So we're just going to do the magic Control Z until, there we go. So I'm all done with that. I'm going to add some sharpness, and I'm going to do that just because she seems a little soft to me. Okay, we're good. I'm happy with that. So now I could go ahead and export it, or I could work on the rest of these pictures, which is what I would normally do. There's a lot here, and I just went through a lot. So I'm just going to go down here to my scenic image, and I really like this picture of lavender bundles. I thought it would be nice in a frame in a kitchen or a bathroom. And for some reason, a lot of times the scenic, it's a little bit easier to manipulate because you can be a little funkier, a little bit cooler. And so I'm not really going to do very much to this, except go up here to my MCP quick click color. And my new favorite one is down here. It's a faux HDR set of presets, and I think it's right around here. Yeah, so I really like this extreme detail, or this urban detail, and so I want to add some funkiness to this picture. So I'm just going to click urban detail and see what it does to my image. And then I don't really have to do any more to that. I think it's super cool and I like it. I like that one best. So I've gone ahead and I have manipulated 2 images within Lightroom using my develop tool. And I'm going to go ahead and export those images so that I can put some further enhancements on them within Photoshop. And there's one thing I forgot to do. I told you I like to crop these images, but in this particular instance I'm not going to take it down to an 8x10. Let's see what would happen if I did. It just kind of crops too much, which might be okay. I mean, I can get selective. Maybe I don't want that orange pot in there, but then it just kind of takes too much away. Let's see what that looks like. Oh, actually I'm okay with that. So we're going to go ahead and export this one and export the first one, but I just want to mention that what I would normally do is edit all of the images and then export them all in one big batch. And to do that, you just hit your Control A again. Then you would go to File, Export, and I'll show you what particular selections I make within the Export tab. Just a second, I just want to click off of all of these because I don't think we want to export 37 pictures. It'll take a little bit. So I'm just going to grab this picture by clicking on it, and then go all the way back to the beginning, and I'm going to click Control and the other picture that I want to export. The other way you can do it is by clicking on this little library grid, and you just select this one and this one by clicking on my Control key. Now I'm going to go up here to File, and I'm going to export. And now this export dialog gives me a lot of choices on what I want to do when I export. So usually when I'm working on a project, I'll go ahead and export to my desktop just because they're easy to find. And I usually put them in a subfolder. So we're going to call this DDLR for Digital Dolls Lightroom. And then it asks me if I want to change the names of the files. And I could, like, let's say I was showing these pictures to somebody and I wanted them to be 1 through 37. I could easily rename them to that. But I would have difficulty, and this happens to me a lot, finding those pictures later. So I find that it's better just to keep them by their original file name. That way when I want to go back and find them, I can look them up by their DSC number. So I'm going to click off of that. There's some things that you can do for video, which I'm going to show you how to do video in just a second. I can also change my file settings. So let's say I want to change this from a JPEG to, I want to export it as a PSD, or a lot of people export them as DNGs or as their original files. I find for me that JPEG works just fine. You want to make sure that your color space is sRGB. And you can do image sizing. So let's say I wanted to resize all of these to 11x14s. I could do that right here. I can also sharpen for output, and I always do this. I always sharpen for matte paper, but you can sharpen for the screen, or you can sharpen for glossy paper. That way it prepares you either for sharing on the internet or sharing with a printer. You can also add metadata. So you can add location information, you can write keywords, things that you can go through and identify the images later. Metadata is essentially just data about what you're working on. We can also watermark our images, and I know a lot of people like to do this. This way your images are protected. A lot of people do all of their adjustments and changes directly in Lightroom. When you go to export, it'll put your watermark on there for you, and that way nobody can steal your pictures. I do it sometimes, sometimes I don't. In this particular instance, I'm not going to, because I'm going to put my watermark on my images once I'm finished with them in Photoshop. I also have the choice for post-processing, and I want my images to open up in Photoshop after they're done exporting. I do this because I like to make some further adjustments within Photoshop after I'm done in Lightroom. Not everybody likes to do this, and actually most people don't, but I'm a little OCD, and so I like to look at them in Photoshop after I'm done with them. You can also choose to have them open in Explorer or open in another application. So I already have mine set to open in Photoshop CS6. So I'm just going to say export. And you can see right up here, it says it's exporting 2 files. And it has the name of the files that it's exporting. And when it's all done, it says it's finished. And I know it's done because my Photoshop is opening right now. And those images are going to pop right up. So there's my lavender bundle. And I'm going to show you what I do with these live. So Jody, stop talking and let the Jody that everybody is staring at right now show you how I further make adjustments with these images within Photoshop. Thanks a bunch, and I hope you enjoyed my little presentation of Lightroom.